before the flood erased the ancient world, something else vanished first. The Bible hints at a world before the Great Flood that was unlike anything we can imagine today. A world so corrupted, so foreign, that it demanded complete destruction. Yet, what many don't realize is that before the deluge swallowed cities and landscapes, it may have first wiped out entire species, creatures that defied the natural order, beasts that lived alongside humanity, creatures of immense size, strength, and perhaps something darker. Ancient civilizations across the world, from Mesopotamia to early Egypt, spoke of monstrous creatures whose origins were never fully understood. Were these beings a twisted branch of creation, or remnants of an even older world, one already dying? Some myths tell of serpents with human faces, lions with wings, and giants whose breath could flatten forests. Legends lost in time, perhaps based on creatures that once shared the earth with mankind. Today, we dive into that forgotten epic, a time when monsters roamed freely, and the boundaries between man, beast, and something else were blurred beyond recognition. If you're fascinated by mysteries hidden in ancient scriptures, subscribe and join us on a journey back to the days before the flood, to rediscover the animals that vanished forever. Before the rain began, the world was already broken. Genesis describes an earth corrupted in all flesh. This phrase has puzzled scholars for centuries. It implies a fundamental perversion not just of humanity, but of nature itself. Giants, known as the Nephilim, walked the earth. But what else was there? Ancient rabbinic traditions and apocryphal texts like the Book of Enoch suggest that fallen angels, called the Watchers, tampered with creation. They taught forbidden knowledge, metallurgy, enchantments, the manipulation of living beings. Some traditions hint they corrupted even the animals, creating monstrous hybrids that defied the natural order. Imagine a world populated not just by men and beasts, but by beings that blur the lines: lion-headed men, serpent-bodied giants, creatures stitched together from nightmares. Archaeological findings from ancient Mesopotamia and depictions on temple walls show entities that match these descriptions, beings part human, part animal, revered and feared by early civilizations. A world of unnatural creatures, a distorted Eden where corruption was not just spiritual, but biological. When the decision to flood the earth came, it was not just humanity's sins that needed cleansing, but the abominations that had spread across all creation. Thus, the flood was not merely a punishment. It was an extinction event, a surgical strike against a corrupted biosphere. But what horrors were buried, and what might still remain? The Bible, even after centuries of editing and translation, still leaves traces of these forgotten creatures. Job described a behemoth, a monstrous land beast, powerful and unstoppable, whose tail moves like a cedar tree. Leviathan, a chaos serpent of the deep, surfaces in Psalms, Job, and Isaiah, described as a creature with impenetrable scales and breath of fire. Flying serpents are mentioned in Isaiah, fiery dragons in Deuteronomy. Sea monsters called Tannanim appear as early as Genesis 1 verse 21. In the original creation story, what were these beings? Are they purely symbolic, or memories of real creatures lost to flood? Some scholars argue that these descriptions could match massive prehistoric animals, creatures humanity might have encountered and mythologized, like giant reptiles or extinct megafauna. Others believe they were something far worse: twisted creations, corrupted by the Watchers' forbidden experiments, creatures that should never have existed at all. Ancient artwork from Egypt, Assyria, and the Indus Valley shows bizarre creatures combining features of many species. Echoes, perhaps, of the abominations that once existed. The ancient world was teeming with life we can barely comprehend today. And when the waters came, they wiped away not only civilizations, but entire ecosystems, perhaps entire aberrant lineages. Or perhaps, not all were destroyed. Not all destruction is collateral. Some of it is intentional. When we look deeper into ancient texts, a chilling possibility emerges: that the flood was a targeted reset. According to the Book of Enoch, the Watcher's sin wasn't just teaching forbidden arts to humanity. It was corrupting the very blueprint of life. Animals, plants, and even humans were altered, hybridized, weaponized. The world had become an abomination, a living violation of its original design. The flood, then, was not simply about erasing wicked humans. It was about purging a contaminated creation. Legends from Sumer, Egypt, and early Mesopotamia speak of similar pre-flood monstrosities. Giant beings that devoured entire cities, creatures with faces of men and bodies of beasts, and other horrors whose descriptions chill the imagination. Sumerian texts speak of antediluvian kings, whose reign stretched thousands of years, ruling over societies filled with beings neither fully human nor fully divine. The flood erased these beings, or so we believe, but perhaps some remnants survived, hidden in remote corners of the world, lurking in deep oceans or buried beneath layers of forgotten time, waiting. And if they survive, could they awaken once more? Despite the flood, the memory of these beings lingers. Myths of dragons, giants, chimeras, and leviathans persist in cultures around the globe. The Chinese lung, the European wyvern, the Sumerian chaos serpents, all echo the memory of creatures that once terrified humanity. Legends of beings destroyed by water, of monsters chained beneath the earth, and of gods waging war against primordial beasts repeat across civilizations separated by oceans and centuries. Is it coincidence that so many cultures recall a cataclysm that wiped out an ancient race of monsters? Archaeology occasionally stumbles upon giant fossils that spark controversy, massive skeletons that don't fit neatly into the evolutionary tree. Forbidden archaeology points to relics and remains that suggest humanity shared the earth with beings far stranger than anything in modern textbooks. Massive skeletal remains, megalithic constructions of impossible scale, and oral traditions of monstrous beings populate the shadows of accepted history. The deeper we dig, the closer we get to stories that sound eerily similar to those found in Genesis. Stories of a time when humanity was not alone at the top of the food chain. Was the flood the end of these beings, or merely the beginning of their transformation into legend, or their preparation for return? Even in the sanitized history that survived, whispers of the old world remain. Biblical references to Leviathan reappear in visions of Judgment Day. Apocalyptic texts describe beasts rising from the deep once again at the end of times. The book of Revelation speaks of dragons returning to the earth, of the abyss opening, and creatures long sealed away emerging once more. It's as if the creatures destroyed once may yet return when the world reaches the new breaking point. Perhaps the corruption before the flood was not an isolated event. Perhaps it is a cycle, a pattern that repeats as human pride and ambition tempt forbidden knowledge once again. Today, scientists toy with genetic modification, with cloning, with resurrecting extinct species. History whispers a warning. You have been here before. What if the monsters of old were not completely wiped out, but only buried, waiting beneath the oceans, sealed within mountains, hidden until the right moment? And when that moment comes, will we recognize them? Or will history repeat itself, just as it did before the waters rose? The flood washed away the surface of the world, but some things sink deeper than water can reach, and some wait to rise again.